Monsieur le Président,
Mr. President, distinguished members of the Council, I have the honor to present the report of the Secretary General on the implementation of the Peace, Security, and Cooperation Framework for the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the region, which covers the period from September 2018 to February 29. I would like to begin by welcoming the positive developments that the region has seen recently. In particular, the holding of peaceful elections in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the signature of the revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan, and the peace agreement between the government of the Central African Republic and 14 armed groups facilitated by the African Union, as well as the efforts currently underway in order to make these developments lasting. I would also like to provide updates on certain initiatives, important initiatives that my office has undertaken throughout the period under consideration in collaboration with other guarantors of the framework, namely the African Union, SADC, and the ICGLR.
as a follow-up to the decision of the 8th Summit of the Regional Oversight Mechanism held in October 2017 in Brazzaville, the protracted presence of disarmed FDLR combatants located in transit camps in the DRC was decisively addressed and resolved. As a result of efforts of the follow-up mechanism facilitated by my office, 98 former FDLR combatants and their dependents were voluntarily repatriated from the DRC to Rwanda, as well as 80 ex-M23 elements and dependents from the camps in Uganda and 1 ex-M23 from Rwanda to the DRC. Moreover, building on the momentum created by the follow-up mechanism in November 2018, all FDLR camps in eastern DRC were closed by the Congolese authorities, and 1,634 disarmed FDLR elements and dependents were successfully repatriated to Rwanda through bilateral arrangements. This shows that progress can be made, even on the most protracted issue, when political will is displayed by the leaders of the region. I seize this opportunity to commend the three countries concerned, the DRC, Uganda, and Rwanda, for their commitment and cooperation. I encourage them to sustain this positive momentum to conclude the repatriation of the remaining ex-M23 members in camps in Rwanda and Uganda. It will also be important to monitor and support the effective reintegration of the former combatants into civilian life. Secondly, during the 9th Regional Oversight Mechanism Summit held in Kampala, leaders of the region stressed the need to strengthen existing security and confidence-building mechanisms and to explore avenues to further strengthen the bonds of friendship and cooperation between the core countries of the region. Accordingly, we have been working assiduously with ICGLR towards supporting the operationalization of these mechanisms, notably the Joint Follow-up Mechanism on the Allied Democratic Forces, EDF, and the Expanded Joint Verification Mechanism, EGVM, as important platforms to exchange information and enhance regional cooperation on the neutralization of negative forces. I have also been encouraging leaders, including during my most recent meetings with President Sassou Nguesso of the Republic of Congo, President Museveni of Uganda, President Lourenço of Angola, and AU Commission Chairperson Faki, to assist in diffusing current tensions between some core countries of the region. In this regard, I welcome the recent initiatives taken by some leaders. Thirdly, in extended consultations with all stakeholders, we have been highlighting the urgency of addressing the protracted refugee crisis in the region and promoting a common regional approach on this important issue. These efforts culminated in the holding on 7th March of a ministerial meeting on the refugee situation in the Great Lakes region, which I co-chaired together with the Prime Minister of Uganda and the Executive Secretary of the ICJLR. The ministers stressed the importance of addressing the drivers of root causes of forced displacements, noting that over 4 million out of the 6.3 million refugees on the African continent originate from countries of the Great Lakes region. They reviewed options for durable solutions, including local integration of refugees in host communities. ICJLR was further requested to develop regional strategy and action plan for durable solutions for the region. Mr. President, since this will be my last briefing as Special Envoy for the Great Lakes region, allow me to use this opportunity to take stock of progress and challenges encountered during my tenure. Indeed, since the 90s and early 2000s, the region has made important steps towards durable peace and stability. Despite persisting insecurity in Eastern DRC, the Central African Republic, and South Sudan, the region today is largely peaceful. Where cross-border clashes frequently occurred, differences between member states are now mostly addressed through dialogue, albeit not always conclusively. Serious efforts have been initiated to promote regional cooperation and socioeconomic integration, which need to be vigorously sustained and supported by international partners. This progress notwithstanding, the continued presence of negative forces in Eastern DRC perpetuates insecurity and mistrust between some countries. Allegation of support by governments of the region of their proxies to such groups and of cross-border interferences continue to threaten cordial relations and stability. They are compounded by the continuing illegal exploitation and trade of natural resources. The reemergence of tensions between some countries of the region have further hampered efforts to yield the full potential of cooperation. These issues require our sustained attention. Greater regional cooperation will be necessary to effectively neutralize the negative forces operating in Eastern DRC and transform natural resources into vehicles of shared prosperity. In addition to strengthening existing confidence-building mechanisms, there is a continued need to create opportunities for dialogue between the concerned countries to address differences where they exist and strengthen the trust and cooperation between them. Politically, significant opportunities for consolidating regional peace and stability have emerged, including with the recent developments in the DRC, South Sudan, and the Central African Republic. In this regard, I welcome the recent visit by President Tshisekedi to the countries of the region in efforts to strengthen ties with his country. This progress, however, remains fragile. We need to capitalize on the opportunities and not waver in our support to the respective parties to live up to their responsibilities. In the DRC, the sustained efforts are required to ensure that differences across political parties are addressed and consensus is promoted on ways to achieve peace and development throughout the country. On Burundi, we need to provide continued support to the East African community to promote effective decisions on next steps in the facilitation process to ensure a peaceful and inclusive political process towards elections in 2020 in full respect of the Arusha Peace Agreement. Recognizing these continuing challenges and in line with the roadmap which I developed after assuming functions as Special Envoy and which your Council has endorsed, I have focused my engagement on key priorities areas to support the signatory countries in the implementation of the Peace, Security, Cooperation Framework in the following ways. First, strengthening regional ownership and the implementation process. Upon assuming my functions, I realized that the summit meetings of the Regional Oversight Mechanism held regularly on the margin of the AU Summit and the UN General Assembly were facing diminishing interest and participation by leaders of the signatory countries. In efforts to reinvigorate this mechanism as a forum for regular exchange between the leaders and as the main vehicle to govern the implementation of the Peace, Security, Cooperation Framework, I recommended that the summit be held in the region, convened and chaired by one of the signatory countries on a rotational basis. Since the endorsement of this reform initiative by the heads of state in 2016, the chair of the Regional Oversight Mechanism has been held by heads of state of Angola, the Republic of Congo, and Uganda successfully. The next summit of the mechanism is scheduled to be hosted in the DRC in October 2019, followed by Zambia in 2020. The reform was successful in promoting renewed interest and ownership in the signatory countries, of the signatory countries in the Peace, Security, Cooperation Framework implementation process. The annually rotating responsibility affords the respective chair an opportunity to provide leadership in addressing key outstanding issues related to the regional commitments under the PSC framework. Second, maintaining regional and international focus on the need to strengthen cooperation against the negative forces and build confidence between countries. On all occasions, I have encouraged opportunities for dialogue between the concerned leaders to address differences where they exist and promote cooperation, most notably on the neutralization of negative forces. This is particularly important in light of persisting mistrust and tensions between some countries in the region. As a result of these engagements, the 9th Regional Oversight Mechanism Summit in October 2018 in Kampala reviewed in a closed-door session the issues that contributed to mistrust between some of the leaders and reflected on ways to resolve them. The summit asked President Sassou Nguesso and President Museveni to take initiatives in this regard. I am encouraged by ongoing efforts by leaders of the region to help address causes of tensions and promote dialogue in the region. International partners should stand ready to support these engagements in a concerted manner. Third, promoting regional cohesion and international attention on the situation in the DRC and Burundi. Recognizing the importance of political stability at the national level for regional stability and in line with my mandate, support to peaceful, credible, and inclusive political and dialogue processes has been one of my key priorities and a major area of political engagement. I have been given the opportunity from April to June 2015 to promote a promising dialogue process between the parties in Burundi, which had it been effectively supported by all, could have provided the Burundian stakeholders a better forum to address their differences. In the DRC, I was initially requested to explore avenues for the UN to facilitate dialogue in that country. In addition to frequent visits to the DRC and Burundi to encourage commitment to dialogue and compromise, I promoted the concerted regional and international approach to the situation in these countries. I also facilitated joint action of the guarantor institutions, which resulted in the holding of 6 ministerial meetings, as well as work visiting to Kinshasa in May 2017 to engage national stakeholders on the need for inclusive dialogue. The role of the Special Envoy, working in collaboration with the Special Representative and Head of MONUSCO and the Special Envoy for Burundi, will continue to be crucial in highlighting the importance of peaceful and inclusive political processes in the region and promoting sustained concerted support to countries concerned. Fourth, situating women's participation in peace and political processes at the center of advocacy efforts. I am pleased with the momentum we have achieved in promoting women's participation in political and peace processes in the region through strengthened advocacy with the support of the Advisory Board of the Women's Platform for the Peace, Security, Cooperation Framework. Effective follow-up to the joint UN-AU ICGLR solidarity missions to Burundi, the Central African Republic, the DRC, and South Sudan, and implementation of the decision of the gender ministers meeting held in Uganda in November 2018 is now required. I call on the Security Council to support the region in efforts to achieve a minimum quota of 30% women's representation in political and peace processes by 2020 in the lead-up of the 20th anniversary of Resolution 1325. Fifth, encouraging a political conversation on the ways to transform natural resources into vehicle of shared prosperity. In view of the lack of tangible progress in curbing the illicit exploitation and trade of natural resources and addressing their role in fueling insecurity and building on the efforts by ICGLR, signatory countries agreed to our proposal to initiate a political dialogue on ways to transform the exploitation of natural resources into a driver of peace and shared prosperity. Consultation to this effect have been initiated with the concerned countries. Sixth, promoting rule of law and respect of human rights. Recognizing the centrality of respect of human rights, I am pleased with the operationalization of the Great Lakes Judicial Cooperation Network, which supports collaboration between prosecutors and judicial authorities in the region on cross-border crimes and serious human rights violations. In efforts to further foster political commitment and to advance the fight against impunity, I am also pleased to announce that my office is co-organizing, together with the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights and the ICGLR, a high-level conference on justice and good governance in May in Nairobi. The support of the Council to this initiative would be much appreciated. Monsieur le Président.
Mr. President, allow me to conclude by thanking the Security Council for the support it has given me throughout my mandate. I sincerely hope that regional and international partners will continue to closely cooperate in order to restore peace, a sustainable peace and prosperity in the Great Lakes region. Thank you very much.